Welcome to another Friday edition of the Sci-Fi Center Live. I'm hoping I'm coming in clear. Today is Welcome to another Friday edition of the Sci-Fi Center Live. Am I echoing? Coming in clear. Today is. Am I still echoing? One of me is enough. Okay. Today is June 21st, I believe. I hope it is June 21st all day. Tomorrow is June 25th, the 40th anniversary release date of Blade Runner 1982. We'll be talking about that later. We'll also be doing a Sci-Fi Center Presents this weekend. I've already got a lot of the footage together. Some geek topics to talk about this week or my wrestling geeks out there, the handful of you are out there. AEW and New Japan are doing Forbidden Door this weekend. I've been looking forward to that. I will be watching that this Sunday. Obi-Wan's finale happened. I got some opinions on that. And the latest Star Trek Strange New World and anything else that comes up in the chat. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in the wingman. How you doing, Brian?
Doing remarkably well. I had a job interview that went really good. So I'm like 99.9, well, 99.999% sure I have it.
Okay.
Because
cool.
Well, it's not where I used to work. So okay. I was able to just name drop and I was like, all right, cool. Yeah, I know how to do this.
Name drop yourself.
Basically. But
hi, I'm Brian.
Right?
I know, my reference is Brian. You should hire me based on what Brian said, and I'd be like, that'd be a quick interview for me.
I've worked at 4 different AutoZones in the region, in the area. Mm-hmm. So this is number 5. And the best part is it's more pay than it was before I left. And it's like 5 miles away.
Dude, there's only 4 cars in Reno. You should have the market cornered, man. They should all be coming to you.
Get out of here.
All right. Well, let me bring in long time no see. Glad everything's working out with him. Silent Scotty, how you doing, man?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Hey, man.
Not too bad. And then I always wonder whether I should click on this name, but let's go ahead and do it anyway. It could be worse.
Hey?
It could be Rodan. No, I'm just kidding.
Pain in the ass. What's up, brothers?
I'm doing okay. Let's just jump right into it. Anything going on this week that you guys want to get off the top of your heads before I go into my main topics?
Nothing I can think of.
Yeah, pretty much got it out.
Oh, cool.
It's Friday. Got paid 8. It's good.
It's Friday. I paid bills. I didn't get paid, but I paid out. So I guess it's the same thing. Money is trafficking. It's just not always to me all the time. So
that was my last paycheck. This is the rent check. So it's like,
oh yeah, yeah. You kind of alternate the suffering and the sacrifice and the.
It's either bills or rent. Either way, it goes away.
And then there's food.
No tears, child. It wastes good suffering.
It's the only thing that's gonna suck not working at a sandwich shop anymore.
You could save thousands just eating top ramen for all 3 meals.
Yeah, you can. I've been doing that now. Anyway.
Yeah, cereal without milk, top ramen, Spam uncooked.
Thank you.
All right, you guys have a nice day. Turkey in the microwave, dude. These are ways to make it through. All right, cool. So I want to talk Stranger Things, but I'm not sure that everybody's caught up yet. The 2nd volume hits next week.
Yep.
And it's intense. I don't want to get into it because I know there's still a lot of people, but spoiler warning for next week, guys. We're going to be talking Stranger Things. I want to do a lead up for the first 3 seasons. So a lot of people were just getting into it, but this season of Stranger Things, if you have not been watching it, I think it's been the best of the 4 seasons. And it's some of the best TV out there in the last 10 years, period. And when I break down Stranger Things, it's going to be like I did when I used to watch Miami Vice. People watch Miami Vice, and all you would see is Crockett and Tubbs driving fast and shooting people. There was so much more to what Michael Mann puts into his productions, and you see that in Stranger Things. And there are certain scenes where it's like these guys understood the moment. Each moment that they did. So I cannot wait. I'm going to give it another week. And by that time, everybody should have watched the 1st volume at least. And then we can split it up and do the 2nd volume. And then obviously I'm going to wait a little bit longer for The Boys because a lot of my fandom has not watched it yet. Okay. Some of the people I've introduced to it are just now starting to watch it, period. So they got a lot of catching up to do. But these guys binge watch stuff. I can't binge watch like that. It'll fry my brain. And I think it just takes away from it because I really think that these producers and directors, even though some of the shows on Netflix are released all at once, I really do think they're meant for you to watch, take it in, talk to people, watch, take it in, repeat. Just having it all at once is like an overdose. So, all right. So, what is my first topic? Let's see if I can share the screen without eliminating myself at this point in the game. All right, my favorite movie of all time, my favorite movie franchise of all time, Blade Runner. The total combined films of Blade Runner 2049, which is one of the best films ever. 2 Academy Award winning cinematography and best visual effects. The only movie I can watch Ryan Gosling in, and it's not a gag. It is an epic sound score. But like I said, we could not have Blade Runner 2049 without the original that was released, I believe, if I'm not incorrect, June 25th, 1982, which is tomorrow. That is 40 years. I mean, one of these days we're going to have to do a stream of 1982. 1982, the amount of hits, legendary hits that were released that year, some of them took off really well and some of them bombed. This movie bombed. John Carpenter's The Thing bombed. But when we look at them 40 years later, I can't believe that these movies bombed. I mean, John Carpenter's The Thing is a gold standard and it's pre-CGI. So, and Blade Runner is a religion to me. So how it bombed, something must have been wrong with this society. But like I said, we're going to go into more depth with Blade Runner because I could do an entire marathon. Please don't tell me there's anybody on this panel that hasn't seen this movie.
I've seen Blade Runner more than any other movie individually.
Okay.
At least 100 times. I don't know. More, probably.
All right.
Quite a few times.
It was all right.
You know what, dude?
Brian, I still love you, dude. It's cool.
Yeah, whatever. There's always that one. I figure, okay.
We'll just get that out of the way real quick.
Well, this movie really revolutionized not just live science fiction storytelling, but a lot of anime. If you look at, there's a lot of anime out there. If you've ever watched Akira, Ghost in the Shells, a lot of them took their inspiration from the look and feel of Sid Mead. And even there's a animation that came out on Crunchyroll, Blade Runner Black Lotus, which was an anime type version of Blade Runner. It was a 13-part series. It was great. It was on Cartoon Network. It aired just this last year. I loved it. Loved every week of it that it came out. And when you watch the special inserts about how the guys created it, many of them, their careers were influenced by Blade Runner. So when we do the Sci-Fi Center live, it is going to go over not just the movie itself, the influences of the movie, how something that can be released this long ago, 40 years ago, and bombed. It's not like Star Wars where you had people waiting around, the theater, in lines and droves looking for stuff. People weren't seeing this movie when it first came out. And how over the course of 4 decades, it has now as a staying power to the point where 35 years after the initial release, you could release a sequel that did, like I said, it didn't do well in the theaters either, but it's one of the most watched things on streaming. It sold a whole lot of physical media and won 2 Academy Awards, something that the first one did not do. First one, I don't even think was even nominated for very many. So Blade Runner's 40th anniversary, we'll be doing the Sci-Fi Center Presents. I will probably invite both, not Brian because he didn't, but Thade, Silent Scotty, see if I can get Dawson in on this. Dawson was -30 when this was released, so I don't know if I want to. But I'll ask him. Doesn't mean he hasn't watched it though. Doesn't mean he hasn't watched it.
I bet he has. I bet he has. He is a person of culture.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like The Godfather was released 2 years before I was born, yet I've seen that movie 1,000 times. So I give him some time to see if he can, I want to get a hold of somebody who has just seen it. That's what I really want to do.
I mean,
get a hold of.
You could actually, I can answer that for you. I watched it probably about 2 months ago for the first time.
Okay.
That's why I was like, it was okay. It was just kind of hard to follow, as all.
Did you get a chance to watch 2049 as well, or just that one?
No, I just watched the original. I was going to watch 2049 eventually. I just never got around to it. But
see, now I'm really interested in hearing what your opinion is of 2049. Now that you've just watched Blade Runner, to see if maybe you respond better to 2049. I don't know. I don't have a theory about it. I'm just curious to see how that relates.
Yeah, no, we'll see. I don't know. I haven't watched that one yet, but it's on HBO Max still, correct?
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
both on HBO Max. What I think I might do, because I think HBO Max has a live function, kind of like Netflix does, where you could invite people to watch. And with Netflix, I think you had to have Netflix for their watch party. I don't know if that's the case if it's HBO Max. If not, I want everybody to watch both of these movies with me again. I'll do it sometimes next week, because I think if you haven't seen Blade Runner yet and you're into science fiction, if you watch it, you might recognize some of the hallmarks that have been in other science fiction movies the last 20 or 30 years. Even if you haven't seen Blade Runner, you most likely have been influenced one way or another, because a lot of people took what Sid Mead and what Ridley Scott did, and they used it on much more bigger and more successful movies. So, yeah, that's bro dance here. Yeah. William, I got Raiders of the Lost Ark still back. And listen, along with Enosh, it has come to my attention that Brodan needs to be robbed as well.
Okay.
This is going to
We
be
got you.
this is going to be a much lighter mission. He doesn't have quite as much as Enosh does, and it looks like there's one way in and one way out. He's got some gadgets and stuff. He's got a cool ass chair that I really need to replace here, and a couple of lights and stuff that I think could make the center good. And remember, when I rob these guys, it's all for the betterment of the center. It's not for me personally, so don't take it personally when I show up. All right, cool. So who else is in here besides us? See if we can ignore Brodan for the rest of the show. Hey, DC Talk with Extended. How you doing? He became a YouTube member. I guess there's a name Enosh asked for his new members. I forgot what Nerd is it. Nerd Level?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it's like the
Yep.
yeah. I don't even know what level I'm at. Let's see.
No echo. Okay, cool. Yeah, I had an
Steve
echo
Perks. Oh dang! 1 year, 4 months, and 27 days, guys.
before. Yeah, man. To count it down like that makes it look like so much longer.
That's been a while.
Hello, Silent Scotty. Or no, it's not Silent. Stella. Silent here. Anthony Grigsby from Down Under. Ha. Captain,
I am nerd. Yes.
Captain America reference.
On your left, yeah.
Yeah. Hello, Rhea. How you doing? Rhea, my favorite voice on YouTube. I told her she needs to do voiceover. She's like, no, my voice isn't that good. No, it is. Okay, so all right, so let's get into the topics. How many of you are wrestling fans besides me?
I was only as a kid and have not followed it for about 25 years. No hate for it. I just haven't followed it. It was a thing for my brother and I. And then when that wasn't a thing, I just haven't continued.
Dave, are you a wrestling fan?
Still learning new stuff, but kind of.
I know you
I
are.
was a big fan back in the 90s.
I was a fan in the 90s and the early 2000s. And then I got the WWE Network in 2000 and right when it came out. But I watched the documentaries. I like old wrestling. I don't like the new stuff.
Ooh, the documentaries are depressing, dude. Turn that off. Ugh.
What? I love the documentaries. It's like the best part of the network.
Yeah, but it's a constant reminder that all my favorite wrestlers are dead or near dead.
True.
I'm like, wow, do I really need to watch the Chris Benoit special? No.
Can you be physically near dead?
Yes. 15th anniversary of Chris Benoit, that whole incident
Jesus.
where he
God, it's been that long ago? Jesus.
Yep. 2007, I think it was. Yeah, I remember where I was. I was on my way to Fort Irwin, California, and it was a Monday. He had been missing on the pay-per-view prior, but things happen. People miss flights. Nobody thought a big deal of it. I didn't think a big deal of it. And I can't remember what the replacement match was. And then I was driving back from Fort Irwin. It was a Monday night or Monday afternoon, and I got all these texts on my phone because at Fort Irwin, I had T-Mobile at the time, and you couldn't get, for some reason, T-Mobile did not reach Fort Irwin. I was on a mission for setting up a range. So we were coming back, and as we passed towards the state line, I got all these texts, about Raw, everything else, and then how they had come out. And, first it was just he had passed away. They didn't give all the details yet. He had passed away, and then Raw was giving tributes to him and everything else like that. And it was like, wow, you're just getting over to Chris Benoit. He's only 4 years old at the time. And his wife, woman, I mean, I grew up watching her with Doom and the Steiner brothers, and his kid was only like 8. I mean, it was just a tragedy. And then as the night went on, you started to the details started to come out, and this was after WWE had already praised him and called him and hear all this stuff, and now the details from Atlanta started to come out, and then everybody started retracting things, and he was like persona non grata. And then later on, I mean, people spent years hating him for what he did. And the one thing that behind what was one of those documentaries? I think it was on Vice. Then it was on Vice that did their documentary on him. They went through piece by piece what his brain trauma had gone through, the black spots in his brain, the concussion syndrome that he was going through. I still obviously cannot condone what he did, but given the medical and scientific reasons, I can't have as much hatred as I did for him the day that I found out that he had done that.
Oh yeah,
when
major CTE, it was bad.
Yeah, when they showed the brain, because I guess his family donated, his mother and father donated, and when they went through his brain scans, I'm like, wow, you start to wonder how he was even able to function.
Yeah,
and then they showed how he did it, how all the headbutts and all that, and then I'm thinking to myself, I've watched wrestling for a long time, and I've seen guys take far more hits than that, far harder hits than that. So if he went through that to the point where it drove him like that, what about all these other guys?
Well, repetition is what did it. Like the constant doing that every night, 365, every year.
Constant head injuries, constant, all of it.
Constant. And no, it was kind of what led, oh gosh darn it. What was the name of the other wrestler?
Which one?
Who basically started the foundation and started doing all that stuff. He started working with Bennett Amalu, and he got in initially on the research. He was a wrestler.
Who did the movie? They did the movie about him, didn't they?
Well, they did the movie about him, but it wasn't.
I know who you're talking about. I know who you're talking about. I can't.
I forgot. No, I forgot the name of the wrestler. God dang it. Chris something.
Not to look it up. I know who you're talking about though, because he was part of that. They interviewed him.
Yes, and because it's actually a really interesting documentary. It's more about football, but it's kind of how they discovered CTE and football players.
They did do the movie. Will Smith played him. Will Smith played him.
Dr. Bennett Amalu. And
nobody wanted to listen to him at that time.
Nobody did. And then not only that, but the NFL pushed him out. That movie is legit true because they squashed his research. They transferred him all over the place, tried to shut him up. That early stuff with Mike Weber, the center for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Had died, and that was the initial case.
Yep.
And so it's I'm really fascinated by this kind of stuff. It was a really big scandal with the NFL, huge.
I remember, and they ended up having to pay out a lot of money for that. It saddens me though, is because just like in wrestling, they use these guys up, and then there's no health care, there's no nothing, there's nothing, there's no recourse for them, and it's better now because of the awareness.
Chris Nowitzki.
Okay. There's just so many.
That was the guy who started the foundation and started
the
lobbying
between the concussion. Who was his name? Who was his stage name?
That was his name, Chris Nowitzki. He was kind of he wore Harvard trunks, and he was the smart guy. He was in the Ruthless Aggression era for a hot second.
Oh, I remember, and he got outcasted. Yeah, I remember that.
But he ended up
I'm thinking of Chris Cannon for some reason.
Oh yeah, he committed suicide or something like that. Yeah, that's terrible. But no, Chris Nowitzki was the one that started the foundation. Actually, went to ask the families for the brains, and he compiled them with other doctors and stuff like that. And he was the point man, and he actually led the conference and all that kind of stuff for the NFL. And yeah, it was crazy.
And then when I see Darby Allin and who is wrestling, then Jeff Hardy, that one match where they're wrestling and they're doing ladder. I mean, Jeff Hardy has other issues, but when he's in the wrestling, he's usually giving 100%. And they did a move off of the ladder where he landed on his back in such a horrific way. And Darby Allin's 26, 27. You got your whole life ahead of you. And I'm sitting there wondering if he's going to move again. And then when he moved, I'm like, oh, geez. And Jeff Hardy's in his four. I mean, these guys, And then some of the stuff that they do, I watched Impact the other day. The guy did a Canadian destroyer off of the corner off of another guy. So you're up 9-10 feet. If you land the wrong way, you're moving your wheelchair with a straw. So I appreciate the effort that they give me, but I'm like, oh Jesus God. It's like,
well,
wow,
I've seen guys. I've seen guys get dropped into the metal stairs. All sorts of, and that's just got to be taxing after a while.
Yeah, I appreciate the entertainment, but I want to, if 20, 30 years from now, whatever Hall of Fame you're in, and I don't count the WWE as a Hall of Fame, any Hall of Fame that's owned by an entity is not a Hall of Fame. It would have to be a mutual entity. I mean, but if there's a mutual entity that puts in all wrestlers in the Hall of Fame, I'm good with that. Like I think Apter or somebody has that, but I want to see these guys in their 50s, 60s, and 70s walking to this thing on their own power, not their families doing it, taking the award for them, or not them being helped, at age 50 being helped to the podium. I don't want to see that. And that's why I'm glad that the money is better for a lot of these guys, because back in the 80s and 90s, the money wasn't good enough to get out. You had to do it, because that was your money. That was your savings. There was no pension program. I don't even think there is for most of these guys. I know that some of the foreign wrestling federations treat them a lot better, and that's why a lot of guys have loyalty to places like New Japan, All Japan. I mean, there's better, just and where they're living is a little bit cheaper. But speaking of New Japan, listen, I am a card-carrying member of the New Japan fandom. If you have seen me either on this stream or my avatars in some of the places, you'll see me wearing literally, and I have them here, 2 New Japan belts, very heavy. One of them is the New Japan version 4, the IGP Heavyweight Championship, the one belt that they should have kept because the one that they have now is hideous. And then the United States Championship, which you've been able to see here on American TV, mainly on AEW Dynamite when John Moxley had it, and he was defending it on there against Lance Archer, which was a Texas death match, which too many of those, but that's another topic. This weekend, the 25th, we got Forbidden Door, which is a pay-per-view that will include members of All Elite Wrestling and New Japan Wrestling, which is ironic because New Japan AEW now owns Ring of Honor. And back in its heyday between the two agencies, it was Ring of Honor and New Japan worked tightly together. I mean, AJ Styles and Young Bucks, all these guys went back and forth between New Japan and Ring of Honor. Now, when AEW was founded, it gutted both of those organizations. It took all their top-tier talent. It took Cody. It took the Young Bucks. It took Kenny Omega. It took a lot of those guys that were mainstays and went back and forth. It took them from both of those federations. So to see them now again, you have Ring of Honor World Tag Team titles on display, which, by the way, if you haven't had a chance to watch FTR wrestle, please do. They put on some of the best matches out there, tag team or otherwise. There are guys on this this card. Will Ospreay, he is another guy that you guys just got to see these last 2 weeks on AEW. This guy's one of the best wrestlers in the world, period, in any wrestling company, period. Name me a wrestling company that you're watching. Will Ospreay is one of the best wrestlers at any level, any weight, anywhere. Adam Cole, Adam Page, all these guys were hovering between Ring of Honor and New Japan, and then the Rainmaker. Katrina, I've always screwed up his name. I always just call him. I never use his first name. I have his name on my belt. Kuchika Okada, the Rainmaker. Just lost the belt to Jay White, who is another wrestler that you guys got to see on AEW. If you're watching, he's been on Impact, leader of the Bullet Club. Not even 30 years old. He's won every title New Japan has as far as singles goes. He is the only true Grand Slam champion, having won the new IWGP World Heavyweight title, the ugliest belt in all of wrestling. But now he's on this card. Tanahashi's on this card. Tanahashi at 45 years old, looking like he's 20. You know what? Screw him. Tom Cruise, Kurt Russell, all these guys that are in their 40s and approaching 50 and 60 that can still look like that, work like that. Like I said, John Moxley's there. Thunder Rosa's there. I am going to try to find a way. I wish there was some way for me to legally group watch wrestling events with you guys. I don't care if I'm the one paying for it. If there was some legal way I could do it, I really want to start doing that. I mean, it is fun, especially if your guys are base wrestling fans that are just watching WWE, and you're willing to open your mind up to AEW, New Japan, MLW, AAA, any of these. If you're willing to like give like a couple hours to it, I'd love to be able to find a way for us to watch these together, like live watch parties. I'm going to try to find a way to do that. Obviously I won't be able to do it by Sunday, but hell, somebody's putting on a pay-per-view anywhere else. So, but yeah, Rainmaker's there. Once again, another young guy. He is a very underrated wrestler in regards to global stature. Hardcore geeks like me know exactly who he is, but he's not. I think you're going to get a chance to see him shine in some of these. Like I said, I don't know how the angles are going to work out because New Japan doesn't do angles that way. Their matches tell the story, and that's fine. Ring of Honor, a lot of it's that way too, because a lot of it is because these guys don't have the type of time that main level wrestling does. AEW has 2 shows and then they have another show offline. WWE has two primetime shows and a pay-per-view every month. A lot of these guys don't have pay-per-views every month. Their events are events. When it's Wrestle Kingdom, it's a huge event, but not every month is a pay-per-view. And then they're airing at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. So they use their matches to tell the stories. And if you look at, I think we're going to do that, Brodan, because I think that's a legal way. And then he backhands me with an old people comment. By the way, I got a chance to see what Brodan looked like the other night. As much as Tom Cruise makes me feel like crap, as much as Kurt Russell at 182 makes me look like crap, as much as all these silver foxes that are still bagging these 20-year-olds are making me look like crap, Brodan does it. Ha! I feel great when I see Brodan. I'm just kidding, Brodan. Not what I expected when I first saw him. I had to type in. I'm like, is this Brodan? He's like, yeah, this. And I heard his voice. I'm like, oh, it's that Fred Flintstone voice. That's him. No, but okay. All right, but yeah, that's what's going on with wrestling and us in the next couple. Yeah, there you go. And you know what? I've heard announcers that have been doing it for years mess this up, so I don't feel as bad. But like I said, it's like Madonna or Prince. It's Okada. You know, if you're a geek, you know who Okada is. But yeah, we could. I'm probably gonna end up trying to set that up. I'm gonna see if I can get a bunch of you guys who want to watch this kind of stuff with me, all across the nation. I mean, there's people who watch. I mean, we got guys in here from Australia, that are wrestling fans, and there's Australian wrestlers on the card. So, but yeah, AEW Forbidden Door is this Sunday. I will be here. I will be watching it. We'll try to work something out to where we can get something on there. And I'm trying to get some local wrestlers because we have a lot of local wrestler events. We had one on a couple of weeks ago, but we have FSW people out here. We have BSW wrestlers. We got a lot of local, and we have some big name guys that I've been trying to get on. I won't drop names yet until we can actually get them on the stream that live here in Vegas and that traffic through here in Vegas and they spend their time here. So you never know. One of these times, my stalker techniques will come through, and you'll see a big name pop on the screen, or as big a name as I can get on the screen. So, all right, so that is what I will be doing on Sunday, and let's get to Obi-Wan Kenobi, the season finale.
All I gotta say is I hope our conversation on Blade Runner is as in depth as your wrestling one.
It's going to be so in depth it might piss people off.
I mean, I'm down. I already know you and I have a different perspective, but I have respect for both perspectives. Is today the day we're doing that, or are you saying you want to do that on a different day?
No, we're going to do that on Sunday. We're going to do that on Sunday. Yeah, because I got to get it at 7. I got to figure out how to, when I dump you, to do it so that it's not. No, I'm just kidding.
Sure. I don't know if I honestly don't know if I can make it on Sunday. My dad's still in the hospital, so it's kind of hit or miss.
Okay, well, let me know. Let me know. I'll put out more details over the weekend. I got a lot of stuff going on, but Sunday I'm off all day. So what I'll try to do is I'll bring in people. But yeah,
send me a link, and if I can be there, I will.
So. Okay, yeah, we're gonna go in depth. It's probably gonna be one of our longer ones because there's not just the movie to cover; it's all the stuff, the video games, the books, how the books relate to. I mean, how Android's Dream of Electric Sheep, how closely he adapted that, what kind of liberties he took with that. Some of the stuff that was put out sequel wise, book wise, that never made it into movies, and then leading up to the movies itself, and and just a character analysis. How awful some of the people in Blade Runner, both movies, are. The worst people in Blade Runner, both 1982 and 2049, are the humans.
Yeah.
The admirable people in Blade Runner are the replicants. The humans are pieces of trash, and they behave like trash. And it's like, gee whiz. So we're going to go into all that. And like I said, I'm going to give myself time. And like I said, this is a subject matter to where I don't really have to think a lot about because I've been living the Church of Blade Runners for 40 years now. Oh, Jesus Christ, I just said that. For 40 years. So we got plenty. I can talk wrestling until I run out of breath and pass out. I think I can do the same thing when it comes to shut up. I think I can do the same thing with Blade Runner. So yeah, we'll go into that. So let me get rid of that screen. And you've all watched Obi-Wan, correct?
Yep.
Yep.
All right, guys. I didn't get the spoiler banner this time around. Damn it. But we do have. Hold on for a second.
Yep.
All right, cool, man. Thank you.
All right. It is a live story. Yeah, I didn't get my spoiler banner. I got to get something for spoiler that blinks and stuff, I guess, so people know. I guess a banner across. But we're about to spoil Obi-Wan, so give me a chance. I do have another banner that I'm supposed to have up here to let you know about all my other ways to get.
I mean, is it really a spoiler at this point in time?
Yeah. Because Star Wars is a spoiler, so yeah.
I mean, if you live on the internet enough to watch a YouTube video, you've probably had it spoiled by now. It's kind of my take.
Yeah, and I know. Oh, here you go. Here you go. All right, I already have one. So yeah, so we're gonna be talking spoilers when it comes to Obi-Wan. What did you guys think? I'll go last. I'm gonna start with Brian.
Let's see here. Are we doing like the series or just the last episode?
The overall series.
Okay.
I think it's fair to judge it by the overall series.
I think overall series, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. I don't know. I guess you could say I've just lowered my expectations so much that anything at this point would be entertaining. But I think just with the way things are going, man, anything that's out now that could just take you out of the humdrum life for 45 minutes to an hour, it's good. Yeah, it has some slow parts here and there and stuff like that. The last episode was 100% legit. I mean, they definitely stuck the landing as far as I'm concerned, and a lot of other people agree. So I'm like, yeah, with that.
Looking up my notes here that I wrote down because I actually took notes while I was watching it, and I went. Like I said, we got on a couple of streams. I think I was on right after it aired. Overall, like I said, premise aside, because I obviously have stated that I didn't think this show needed to exist, and it takes place in an era that has already saturated my brain for 40 some odd years, 45 years. But on its own merit, I thought episodes 4 and 5 were weak. 1, 2, and 3 were good. Overall, I would give it a solid 7.5 up to 8 out of 10. Ewan McGregor carries the series in a way that he's supposed to. I thought that he convinced me that we were where we were at with the character. His guilt, his PTSD, his evolution was very believable throughout the show. He gives a top-notch acting job, even though most of the cast, I'm sorry, this doesn't. And I don't think it's because they're bad actors. I think because the writing fails a lot of these characters in a lot of instances. They don't kill the show because it's still Obi-Wan Kenobi. So the fact that they're not that great doesn't really destroy the show because it always comes back to Ewan McGregor. He carries the show. I thought Little Leia carried the show. I wasn't expecting that coming into this the show. The problems I had with it were, once again, some of the writing was just really bad. I thought that Reva, Third Sister, there was so much left on the table with her. I started to connect with that character towards the end there, and I thought there was different ways they could have approached that character that could have really fulfilled and fleshed out that character and really given her, the actress, a lot more to work with than they did. I think a lot of that could have been longer episodes. I mean, I think the total series was 4 hours for 6 episodes, which is really short when you figure the average. I thought there was just a lot of meat left on the bone for that particular character who I thought could have been the access point, the focal point of the show, other than him. Even though it's Obi-Wan Kenobi, I thought she could have been just like Baby Yoda. It's the Mandalorian, but Baby Yoda is a lot of the the show. He a lot of the axis that the show revolves around. Hell, even the Mandalorian, there's different characters that do that. Production value, that's appropriate. Production value, no, it's okay. I didn't have an issue with the production value at all. I thought the production value was there. I mean, it's not gonna be perfect. I mean, there's full wide scale movies that don't have 100% production value at all times. So as far as that goes, and then the fact that there were scenes in there that I was supposed to be compelled by, the lightsaber battle between Obi-Wan and Anakin, it was top notch, but at the end of the day, I couldn't get as into it as I could have, because I knew the ultimate fate of both characters. I knew neither one of those characters was going to die. It's not like when I watch a new Game of Thrones outside of the books that he's written, and I see Jon Snow in Battle of the Bastards, or I see Jon Snow facing somebody, or any of the characters, going into war. I don't know who's going to live or die, and I'm compelled. I'm on that roller coaster ride. With Anakin and Obi-Wan, because of the premise of the series, I know no one's dying here. Even though there's the quote about "you didn't kill Anakin, I did." I like that. That carried weight. So I couldn't get as emotionally engaged. And then the rest of the characters, the Inquisitors, didn't move the needle for me either way, outside of hers. But
they've always kind of been annoying, though. To be fair, like even in Rebels, like the characters of the Inquisitors, they were always easily foiled. Well,
that's what they're for. They're there for a foil. So
yeah.
So.
They definitely need to do more than 30. They needed more time. I thought the story, like I said, these 39 minutes, whatever. Some of the episodes are longer, but like with Stranger Things, I'm getting more Stranger Things than I can take sometimes, because each episode of this series is like almost an hour and a half, and literally the last two episodes of Stranger Things is literally going to be 2 hours. Like Campia pointed out the other day, the last two episodes of Stranger Things season 4 are longer than the entirety of Obi-Wan's series, which I didn't believe that until I looked at it. I'm like, wow, that's incredible. So more time. Other than that, but like I said, even with that, McGregor's performances and the stuff that you did get to see, I gave it a solid 8. I gave it a solid 7.58. Silent Scotty, what'd you think?
Yeah, I mean, I loved it, and I'll tell you why. I definitely, I'm not calling Brian out here, but I don't think expectations are the problem with the fandom. I've heard your theory on that many times, but I had expectations for this show. My expectations was exactly what was presented. Of a director, Deborah Chow, who did one of the best episodes of Mandalorian next to Bryce Dallas Howard. So I expected the director to deliver that level of quality. We have Ewan McGregor, who's a phenomenal actor in any role he's in, and really understands this material and wanted to do this and to come back. So I had the expectation for his acting ability. And I also had the expectation that this was a TV show that was made during the pandemic by Disney. So with all those things like together, that was my expectation. And that was exactly what I got, was that level of quality. I thought it was great that Deborah Chow had a consistent vision throughout the entire series. I appreciated, even in the episodes, I agree that there are some episodes that are weaker than others, for sure. But at the same time, they all had a consistent look and vision. I think part of the problem with Book of Boba Fett was, the different directors having, sort of different takes, sort of split that show up for me. And this show didn't have that problem. The actress who played Leia, I thought absolutely knocked it out of the park. And one of my favorite moments actually is when Obi-Wan is telling Leia about, her parents, what he could say anyway. I thought that was a great scene. And, the one thing, I'll use the rest of my time to talk about one thing, which is, the fandom, the sort of side of the fandom that hated this show. Like, there are some valid things to critique, right? There are some scenes that are obviously green screened, and their dreamscape sort of technology kind of failed them. That's 100% true. There's definitely some scenes. I didn't mind it. Again, it's a TV show made during the pandemic, and people need to set their expectations, not abandon them. And in this case, you understand, hey, it is a TV show. I have looked up, and the budget for each of these episodes was $25 million, according to.
Wow.
Yeah.
Per
So
episode?
per episode, which is quite a bit. But
Yeah.
if you take a look at it, they adhered to a lot of COVID restrictions during filming. And so that meant a lot. It meant a lot of longer. For instance, not everybody could be sitting there on set at a time. So if you think about that, they film a scene with a couple actors, then everybody has to leave the set and a whole new crew has to come in adhering to all those guidelines. And that, costs a lot of extra money. I don't know, 25 million an episode extra money, but I think there's a lot of overhead with Disney shows. And I'm wondering how much of that went into paying Ewan McGregor, who earned it. But I'm curious to see what that is. But yeah, like the talk that this series broke canon. And, I spent the last day or so like rewatching things. Like, for instance, I heard, Nerdrotic made the comment, like, Luke's not supposed to know about Obi-Wan at all. Like, how could he forget? Well, the first mention that Luke says of him is the droid. I think the droid was stolen. He belongs to an Obi-Wan Kenobi. I thought he might be a relative of old Ben. That is the exact quote from New Hope. Luke knew 100% who old Ben was. He just didn't know he was a Jedi, obviously. And this show doesn't break that whatsoever. And same with like with Leia, when that's probably like the most sort of like ephemeral, but at the same time, like people are sort of saying that, oh, well, when she addresses him through the droid, she says, "You knew my father in the Clone Wars," right? Well, there's a lot of things here. They don't know who she is, and she's trying to protect her identity in New Hope. If you notice, she doesn't address herself, right? It's a mystery as to who this person is at first, right? Who's sending this message. And furthermore, when they finally rescue Leia, she says, Luke says, "I'm here with Ben Kenobi." And she goes, "He's here," right? Like she's more excited than just some stranger that her father told her about, right? So there's more knowledge that she has that is presented in New Hope than people are giving credit for. So anyway, the scenes between Anakin and Kenobi are absolutely amazing. I mean, the bottom line is, Hayden Christensen was able to deliver a performance through the crack of a helmet that was haunting. The way that he has this sinister grin, and you just are seeing this like little bit of his face, right? It's not even enough for an actor to completely emote, and yet he completely conveyed that there is this sinister force behind this mask. And what's that smile for, Brian? Is there something I'm saying that's messed up?
No. I was sorry. I was just. I actually like what you're saying, because that was one of the best parts of the whole thing, where he had that sinister grin. No, I was just somebody's supposed to be awake right now, but I'm just.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I'd misinterpreted.
Yes.
So all those things, I loved it. I mean, I would say it's a 7.5, 8 out of 10. I mean,
wow, you gave it the same. Wait, did you get the same rating I gave it?
Yeah. I mean, but I think the high watermark for me is really at this point has been set by Mandalorian. So when I consider the quality of the script, the quality of the production, all those things, my expectation in this case was, what did Deborah Chow's episode look like in Mandalorian, and what did this series look like, right? And if you weigh that out, I give it that score. So yeah, solid. It did everything. It did everything that I needed, and what I expected was basically a young adult, a YA interpretation of the Kenobi book, which is Legends, but is also one of my favorite books. Kenobi is my favorite Star Wars character, so and that's what I got. And in fact, a lot of the plot points from this show, even down to Kenobi discussing his family that he has some memories of, is pulled directly out of the Kenobi novel. So, yeah. But anyway, I'll shut up so they can give a take.
One of the only things that really did hang up the show for me, and a lot of the people that I watched it, because I would generally watch it as a group, they reference a lot of characters that most people, because most of the people who I watch it with are watching this because of the movies, they reference a lot of characters that most people don't know who the hell they are. And True. There's just not enough time to really delve into a lot of these characters. They did that with Cat Bane too. I mean, you're bringing in characters that, like I said, the majority of Star Wars fans who have seen it, who's our only connection to this is the movie and Baby Yoda and Book of Boba Fett, maybe on a lighter level.
I 100% disagree, and this is why I say that people should set expectations, not abandon them. The expectation of everything Disney's doing right now is that they're speaking to the audience that grew up as children watching Clone Wars. That is the Star Wars you're getting.
Okay, we're going to have to disagree then because
you can disagree, but that's what Disney is doing. That is what Disney is doing.
Well, I disagree. I agree with what you're saying there, but that's the problem though, is because the people that are watching this show are connecting with Obi-Wan. They're connecting with the movies, and most of the people who are watching these shows now that started with the movies and prequels and went over have not grasped. I sat in a room full of people who didn't even. They're looking at me like, "Who is this? Who is this?" And then I got to pause. Okay, let me.
See, I'm sorry. This is what I disagree. It's like there's lots of supplemental materials with Star Wars, and just because there's other like a bunch of these shows, and people flat refuse to watch Rebels. Oh, I didn't watch cartoons, or oh, I didn't watch Resistance. Oh, I didn't watch that crap. It's like these all take part in the universe. They all have weight. From the most filler episode of Clone Wars to some of the best story arcs you've ever seen in a CG animated story. Like, if you didn't watch that, you were missing out, in my opinion.
If you didn't watch that, then I don't care that they're not making movies for you. That's all I'm saying. Like, yeah,
that's basically it.
Okay. Not disagreeing with you guys. I'm just explaining that there's a reality that the majority of the people that are on the Star Wars have not grasped these characters yet. Like when Cat Bane came in, I'm sitting there with a bunch. I literally had the pop figure of him sitting right next to our big screen with these people watching it, and people looked at me when he came up, and I'm like, "Oh, that's him." I knew who he was, but I was the only one in the room of 36 people who did, and that is like I see that a lot. Now, I'm not saying that these characters shouldn't be used. I'm saying that when they bring them in. You know, and I've only seen that with at Ahsoka Tano. They brought in certain ones and they've leaned into them, but then they've brought in others and they're just not given enough time, and then they're not part of the story to the point where I spend more time answering questions of who the hell these people are than they're actually on the screen. So it's like I would like to see them handle that a little bit better. If you're going to bring these characters in, dude. Give me an extra 15 minutes to delve into certain characters that are in Clone Wars and in Rebels. Give me a little bit more to go on, because what I want is for people to listen. Clone Wars and Rebels isn't my thing, but I do want people jumping from the main stuff into the legends, into this peripheral stuff. I want them to do that, but if they don't do a good job of fleshing these characters out, nobody's going to care. Nobody's going to care about the Inquisitors if they don't do a better job in bringing them to the surface. Nobody's going to care about the characters I like. If they bring in Exar Kun and they do a half-ass with it, I'm going to have those same people looking at me, who is this? Give me back to Luke and Leia. I'm like, no, we can't go back there. So I want these characters bought in. They just got to do a better job of doing it. And I don't think they've grasped that yet. So that's my opinion. I understand what the mission was for Disney. I'm not even saying that's a bad mission. It just needs to execute it better. That's all. You know what? I mean, get people into a bigger Star Wars universe, even if it's not the stuff that I prefer. Like I say, the same thing with Star Trek. Increase the size of the neighborhood. I don't care who moves in. I want new neighbors. I want different neighbors. I want different people that I can carry on a core conversation with. Star Wars doesn't always do a very good job of that when it's time to bring in non-movie characters. That's all I'm saying. Dave, what did you think about it? I didn't get your opinion on Obi-Wan.
Well, it answered a lot of questions that the OT had holes in. I grew up in the original trilogy era, but I'm not that trilogy era. That's not my favorite era. I love the prequel trilogy. I loved a lot of the extended universe stuff. I know that's, of course, Legends now, and that's fine. Because for me, they're slowly bringing in the Legends stuff and adding it to canon, so I'm good with that. And then, like, if some of the concepts that they bring in from the EU aren't exactly the way they were, they're rather close or done in a more interesting way. So I'm okay with that as well. I'm going to end up rewatching all 6 episodes in entirety just binge watch them because there's things I missed. Some YouTube videos I've been seeing, things I've missed. I need to, frame by frame on the walls with the Eric Besch writing so I can see all the names there and so I can remember who the hell they are. But as for my only problem really with the show has been technical stuff. Like there's been some pacing issues. There were, there was some off CGI stuff like that. But other than that, the show was good. It did everything I wanted it to do. Of course, I rarely ever put huge expectations on things when I go into them. Anything, because I know that if I go in with too big of an expectation, it's going to ruin the whole thing for me anyway. So when it comes down to that, I just really never go into much with huge expectations. But everything I wanted this to do, it pretty much did. I love the interaction between Hayden and Ewan McGregor. They've always had a great interaction with each other. It's great to see them on screen again. Even though, you don't see Hayden a whole lot. The scenes you do get with him are memorable and gripping scenes. They further the story quite a bit. Hearing rumors of a second season, kind of both do and don't want them to do that, just based on different things. I don't know if those stories need to be exactly told or if just left to our imagination. But I wouldn't mind seeing more of Qui-Gon and maybe we have Vader hunting other Jedi and Kenobi get in the way or whatever. Who knows? Just overall, I think I'll give this one an 8. It's a good show. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think that's pretty consistent with what I give it. I agree with Amory and Conyer. Disney Plus honestly could learn from Netflix on how they do Stranger Things. Actual long that to me this to me is key. If you're going to bring in these other characters, give yourself enough ramp so that when I'm done with Obi-Wan, if I'm a Star Wars fan who's only the vast majority of people who've only experienced these characters through the movies, give me an on-ramp or to the rest. Give me reason enough to find that some of these characters that they're bringing on are compelling enough to where I want to sit down and spend as much time as I did with the movies in Obi-Wan. That's really what this should be doing. Other than telling a story that we pretty much already know, the ultimate end of it is tying these characters to the characters that you may not have seen. And like I said, that's what and some of these episodes, one of them was 39 minutes. I'm like, oh man. As it was getting good, here come the end credits. I'm like, well
yeah. That was a terrible feeling. I know that exact. And I don't think anybody liked that episode in general, but yeah, I was like, dude, that needed an extra 15.
Yeah. But to be
which
fair,
one are you talking about? Episode 3 or?
I think it was 3 or 4. I think it might have been
3.
4.
4.
But see, they did that all the time with Mandalorian, though.
Yeah, and it bugged the hell out of me too.
Yeah,
they would cut the episode off right at the end. It's like,
and you could feel it coming. You're like, because things like, oh, this is getting good, and then all
they're gonna pull the rug out from underneath you.
God damn it!
Oh, I do want to point out a couple of different scenes just real quick. First of all, this scene between Vader and Anakin, that last fight scene, I think it was just as brutal, if not even more so, than the fight in Episode 3. And that of course, that fight is very emotional as well. I think
Obi-Wan going crazy was my favorite part of that. Him just saying,
yeah,
what? Take these rocks.
I was like, damn!
No, what I loved is when he's up close fighting and he's just shattering the respirator with his lightsaber.
Oh yeah, and you hear the voice. You hear the voice go from Obi-Wan to Darth Vader. I mean, or Anakin to Darth Vader. It's kind of I thought they did a good job there. Like I said, I think they did a lot of good work on the series for a series that I just didn't need. For me to give it an 8, 7.58, it's pretty solid. That means the performances are very, very strong.
I like the symbolism of the side of the mask that Obi-Wan cracked versus the side that Ahsoka cracked. The symbolism being that neither one of them, the master or the apprentice, could bring him back, but Luke taking the mask fully off and bringing him back at the end of Return of the Jedi is
His full redemption.
the true redemption, you know. I loved the split vocalization when the mask is broken, where part of it's him, and when it's him talking, there's a blue light from Kenobi's saber on his face. But when Vader starts to talk, and then that grin that Scotty talks about, then it's just straight up the modulated, Vader voice.
Like I said, so here we go. That one is in the books. Don't know if there's going to be a season 2. I mean, they could do the fleshing out the characters with a season 2, or they could do other stories that involve those characters. Like Mandalorian had characters in from, or Boba Fett had booked, characters in from Mandalorian. They don't necessarily need to do a season 2 if they don't want to. They can find other ways to tell the stories of these characters and see where their journey goes, or they could just leave it at that. I mean, who knows, one way or another. It'll be interesting to see what they do.
The one final thing I do have to say is I completely agree with Brodan, and when he says that the one thing Disney has done the best with Star Wars is make Vader freaking horrifying. You've got the Rogue One scene, the hallway scene in Rogue One. You've got what they did with Vader in this series right here. He is extremely terrifying.
Yeah, Rogue One was tough to top. That scene in Rogue One where he's just killing.
Well, I love this scene in was like episode 2 of this series where he's just walking through that town. It's episode 3, where he's just dragging people through the streets and snapping necks and stuff to get Obi-Wan's attention.
Yeah, that was kind of haunting too.
And then the chasing Obi-Wan through the desert, and Obi-Wan's trying to see things with his lightsaber, using his lightsaber as a torch for all intents and purposes. And he just doesn't.
Another thing
see
was
Vader.
seeing Vader manhandled in that fashion. Yeah, you don't get to see that all the time. As Darth Vader, you don't actually get to see Darth Vader get manhandled and pretty much beaten down like he was on Obi-Wan. That was new.
But he was also very agile, which isn't something that we've seen Vader.
Yeah, you got to see a prime Vader.
Yeah,
you got to see you got to see Vader before.
I also liked the dichotomy between seeing, so he switched between Anakin and Vader a whole lot in this series. Like the scene where he goes charging into the room and he lifts Reva up with a force and says, "You were warned." That was Anakin. That was not Vader. That was the impatient child coming through. And then, in that very scene, he switched into Vader, which he was like, but I put a tracker on him, and he's like, oh. His swings, his mood swings in this series were just amazingly disturbing.
They did a good job of not just showing, portraying Obi-Wan where he was at. And how he would be in that point of his life. They did the same thing with Anakin. So, like I said, overall, gave it 7.5, 8. Like I said, individually as a show, I approve. But like I said, I continue to want Star Trek or Star Wars to go in a direction that is not touched by any of the things that we have done. Looks like they're going to be doing that pretty soon. So I look forward to that. And like I said, I mean, I'll watch what they put out, but there's just an element of excitement that I'm going to have when I have the Skywalkers far in my rearview mirror, like hundreds and thousands of years into my rearview mirror.
There's just one more thing I want to say about a characterization in this. I think the little girl who played Leia did damn good. She was amazing. She portrayed a young version of the Leia that we got in the original trilogy. And the sequel trilogy, the strong warrior type. I mean, even as a child, she was impressive, And I love the scene at the very end where Obi-Wan's talking to her on Alderaan, where he's talking about, giving her the qualities that came from both sides of her family, from her father and her mother.
Dude, yeah, that was a tearjerker for me.
Yeah, you won't be 10. You're 10 now, but you won't always be. So I thought that was pretty good. So,
well, all right. So one more thing on that. I just want to say, if you look up how Carrie Fisher looked as a girl, by the way,
she looked so much like Vivian. She looks so much like Vivian.
Yeah, and on top of that, I just like a fun fact here is that Leia's droid in this, the Lola unit, is named after Carrie Fisher's pet bird that she had as a child that was named Lola.
Yeah.
So it was a little tribute to Carrie Fisher.
Cool.
It
Now
was. She definitely did good, and I loved her connection with Obi-Wan. And to all those people out there that say that this was a retcon, canon breaking or whatever, dude, you can go somewhere else with that nonsense because, like Scotty said earlier, I think they covered that really well.
All right, and the last thing on the docket was an episode that I was afraid of when I saw the preview for Strange New Worlds, episode 8. When I
Yes,
saw
because you don't like medieval stuff very much, I know.
No, it's not that. I just thought it was going to be a slapstick episode, just one of those episodes that you just have to endure. That was going to be more humor than plot. Just based on the previews and the trailer, I'm like, oh, okay, you know what? It had to happen at some point. An episode that I wasn't going to like as much as the other one. They've done me right 7 episodes. I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to go ahead and endure this and watch it. Turns out it was a very good episode.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Dude, there was I gotta admit, I teared up, especially there at the end.
Yeah, I didn't think it was going to go that direction, to be honest with you. I actually thought, I got my spoilers thing off there, but still, I actually thought he was going to go with her. I thought they were going to go into the nebula together, and that did go with Deborah or whatever her name was. I thought that they were just going to go ahead. And then when he said that, I have to stay here, I'm like, that wasn't as convincing for me because I'm like, dude, you're going to let your daughter go out? I mean, you're not going to go with her? I mean, your whole thing, but then I'm like, okay, But then when she came back as an adult, I thought that was cool because really they never explained how long. I didn't need, at least I didn't see it. I may have missed it. How long he has her in that buffer? Is she an adult? She could have been an adult now because she never ages.
I was curious about that, and I was actually confused. Not confused. I just didn't know. I couldn't tell how long she had been in there. My initial impression that it had only been a few years was my impression, but I guess I was wrong on that.
Yeah. To like she said, to them, to her and the Nebula entity, it was a long time.
Well, not the Nebula, in the buffer. And how long was she in the buffer? How many
in the buffer?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
5-10 years, probably.
Okay. So she basically had her childhood, Rob. So when it was kind of cool to see her become an adult and and live the life that she never got to live and get those years back. In the Nebula. I thought that was cool. Like I said, the other stuff on it, like I know it was corny and cheesy, and I know everybody's a better actor than you. I had to sit through that. I'm like, oh, geez.
Oh, come on. A couple of standout performances in that for me was Anson Mount. I loved how he played the sniveling weasel. That was people. Yeah, that was so awesome. And Leon, the actress that plays Leon, did that character so good. the princess character or whatever.
Yeah, once I started to put together, when he started to realize, these two characters never met except for Nakia, and then I'm like, okay, that's cool, and then I'm like, okay, here's where he gets court-martialed for all that shit he did with even keeping her in the buffer, but Pike would have let him off anyway. But I thought it was cool at the end when him and Number One got together because she's like the only one who knew, and she's the only one he could talk to about it. So I kind of think cool to see his, that story arc because I was always wondering how they were going to do that. And I thought it would entail him leaving the ship, but
And I love how they utilized Immer in this episode too, the engineer.
Oh yeah. Oh, don't turn away. This will blind you. What about you? I'm a wizard. Not the fact that he's already blind, but
I'm a wizard.
Yeah. They do more and more with him. The only episode I truly didn't like him in was the very first time you see him, because that was he's not supposed to be likable. He's supposed to grow on you. In each episode, he's grown on you. He grew on Uhura when he had that conversation. So there's more to him than meets the eye. I'm glad to see them. Like I said, this was the Doctor. This was his episode. By the time this first season is over, you're going to have a good understanding of all these characters from the points of view of each of them, instead of just from hearing it from Captain Pike. So I really do. We've had one for Spock. We've had one for Number One. We've had one for Uhura for the most part. I mean, and then you've had other characters featured. So this show is doing a balance. Like I said, I was scared going into this episode because I'm like, okay, here's another slapstick episode that you just have to give you so that you can, get that old feel. But then, no, it wasn't that way at all. It was kind of goofy halfway through it. But as I understand what they were going with it, I'm like, okay, this is really cool. So Strange New World is 8 for 8 for me so far. It hasn't disappointed me yet. But I know it's kind of no show can do it.
The next episode looks to be a bit terrifying. I saw a clip from it today.
I haven't seen any clips. I have to look.
There's a single clip out, and it's Spock, and he's investigating a ship with no power, and there's an awful lot of blood on the floor. That's all I'm going to say.
I'm in. One of the 3Ds, possibly 2.
And there's a bit of a jump scare in the little clip that I saw, but it ends up being okay. But yeah, it looks like it's going to be like we got the somewhat comical episode that turned into something more, and I think now we're going to get the like Friday the 13th episode because that was an awful lot of blood on the floor.
Perfect. Brian, what do you think of this episode?
Well, I'm going to say I probably cringed through the first half of it. But once I kind of started feeling like it was going somewhere and everything started when Dr. Mbenga started making all those connections, and he's like, oh, okay. Once he figured it out that, there was a consciousness in space and, and the cool thing is I just got off watching this. Like as soon as I got home from my interview, I came home and I sat down and I watched it. I absolutely loved this episode. I didn't think I would, and the fact that we basically kind of got conclusion to Dr. Mbenga's like side story, and once again, this character arc thing that they're going for per episode is freaking amazing. Like,
yeah, I'm enjoying it.
I love this how they're handling these standalone episodes. Is somewhat reminiscent to what they talked about with Next Generation, where they focused on individual characters in shows, and like this last week, every show has had a good main character, and yes, the overacting, the underacting. I love Ensign Mount being the Lord or whatever, just this dibbling, not captain,
Yeah, just not him,
Totally.
not the main guy.
And that's like
he pulled that off so well. I loved it. Like I said, him and the actress that plays La'an were so good in this episode.
Well, because they're completely opposite of the characters that they actually play, like on a day-to-day basis. Like La'ana, like acting like that, you know what I mean? Like you would never see that, you know what I mean? Like it's just one of those things. But like,
yeah, it was weird. It was weird to see them. Something like, and Erica, her character's hilarious, man. She's just hilarious. I mean, she did give you just enough of her to make you want more. So I was happy with it. But Thade, what do you think about this episode?
It was I cringed a lot of the way through it. But like when it got down to business, like with Brian, I think it was a good episode. Made me tear up at the end. I understand Mbenga's sacrifice, though. He is needed. Not an easy sacrifice, mind you, but I understand why he did what he did.
Progress.
Because she wasn't there. He wasn't saving her.
Yeah, no progress with that. Cylon, what do you think about this episode?
I mean, I have a lot of the same things for you as you guys have said, but I will say it did definitely caught me off guard because after the last episode where it seems like it's setting up that Mbenga is going to find a cure for his daughter through a medical way. This kind of blindsided me. And this isn't a criticism. But I feel like there is a more story to tell. I mean, the concept of keeping somebody in that type of like sort of containment that he's done with his daughter is a new concept to Star Trek, as far as I'm aware. I don't remember anybody being kept in a buffer before, and I've looked
only,
online.
Scotty.
Only Scotty.
Sure. That's
Relics.
true. Yeah.
Relics. 75 years in the buffer.
That is true. Yeah.
Well,
but
there was more to it than that, right? Too, like there was a couple of other episodes that focused with people in the buffer.
Well, there was an episode that I remember that focused on transporter psychosis.
With
that one I remember. Yeah.
With Barclay, and then there was the episode Relics, which he was in the pattern buffer for 75 years on the Jenolan.
Ooh,
There
I
was
didn't know that
wasn't
one.
there like another one on Voyager or something like that?
I think so. I think there was a transporter one on the Voyager series. Yeah.
But
Huh. Well, you learn something new every day. So, but yeah, like I mean, in general, though, I thought that was the direction it was going. I kind of like in my mind said, okay, well, he's going to be working on this technology, and I was expecting in a future episode, maybe even next season, he was going to figure out, the way and and there'd be an episode around that. But that being said, so I don't know. I feel like this kind of cut that storyline short, and there is some opportunity there. But I thought this episode was pretty beautiful. It definitely grabbed me in the feels and. Really, the
I
same
think they're
thing.
going to revisit it. I actually think they're going to revisit. I'm thinking that his departure from the show might involve a revisiting of this.
Oh, it probably will. One thing I will say, like the next episode that's coming out is called "All Those Who Wonder." So I mean, it sounds like an interesting title.
What was the title again? Say that again.
Hold on, let me get it again.
The doctors in Star Trek are typically my favorite characters. Like I love Scotty, obviously, but
All
I
Those Who Wonder.
Ooh, okay.
Anyway, so I'm sorry to cut you off there, Scotty. Go ahead.
Oh, good. So and I was just really starting to like connect with this doctor, and be like, yeah, like I'm liking this doctor. I like his style. I like his discernment. I like his integrity. I like his seriousness. And like one of my favorite doctors is Dr. Phlox, and I loved him because he just is this sort of like unintentional comic relief in the show. And this doctor is very contrasted to that. He's a very serious doctor, and I like that. So
you know what I like about this guy, this Mbenga? I like his quiet strength.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
It's something we haven't seen because though Bones was a very strong doctor, he was also he had his quips. He had his things that especially with Spock. And then of course you had the hologram. Of course you had the hologram doctor, which was very flamboyant, and then Dr. Phlox. I like Dr. Phlox in Enterprise too.
Mm-hmm. I love Dr. Phlox. He's one of my faves. But yeah, anyway, so I just feel like I was just sort of like getting to know this doctor, and so and we'll see where it goes.
Especially Mirror Universe Dr. Phlox. He's
yes
insane.
Yeah. I still think that the Mirror Universe episodes in the Enterprise are some of the best Mirror Universe episodes made.
Do you think we'll get a Mirror Universe? I mean, because they've done it every series. Do you think we'll get a Mirror Universe episode in this show?
Yeah.
I don't know. You think so?
Yeah.
I mean,
I think that as long as they don't overdo it, it could be done. Give me an episode of it. I'll be okay with it, but just don't go, completely like,
because my favorite Mirror Universe episodes are in Enterprise.
Yeah, those are with the Defiant. Yeah, those are the best ones. Some of the other ones, it was a new concept, but they sort of mastered it by then. So, but then Discovery, the whole basis of Discovery is Captain was a Mirror Universe guy. So, we never really found out what happened to the real guy. So, all right. Well, we are at the. I think we've covered everything. I covered everything I put in my little picture this time. Last week I left out stuff, but this week I think we covered everything. That's about it. Thanks for everybody who showed up. Thanks for everybody who gave good questions. And like I said, keep an eye out for a very, very in-depth Blade Runner show for Sci-Fi Center Presents. It should. I don't think I'm going to do it live. I think I'm going to record it because there's some videos and stuff and pictures I really want to upload that I want to run alongside it. It's easier to edit that way. So if we don't see you on Monday with that, we'll definitely see you next Friday, 6:30, and I'll be around. I'll probably ambush some other streams too in a couple of over the next couple of days. Thank you to Brian. Thank you for Thade, Silent Scotty. Anybody got anything to add on their way out?
Hope you all have a good week.
Just
the job.
Keep me informed about Sunday
Okay.
for the Blade Runner. I might actually go and watch 2049 again this weekend. And how long is that Black Lotus?
Black Lotus is 13 episodes. They're half-hour
Okay.
episodes, so it's not.
Yeah, I should be able to get those out this because that's the only Blade Runner stuff I haven't seen. I haven't seen Black Lotus yet.
It's very good, and it pays. It does not forget about the details of both movies.
Right.
Even though it's before 2049, there are things in 2049 that are relevant and and then obviously they take a lot of care to make sure that you know that you where this movie came from. So Blade Runner Black Lotus was great. So all right, guys, thank you everybody for showing up. Thank the three of you, and I will see you guys next week.
See
All right.